Hey guys, what's up? MurderofBirds here. Welcome back to the channel, and if this is your first time watching one of my videos, then I welcome you to the channel as well. So for today's video, I have some special RWBY content that I'm very excited to share with you all. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, I personally want to say that this video would not be possible at all in any way, shape, or form without the support of every single one of you guys. For every single person who has watched, liked, shared, and ultimately, if you've enjoyed my videos and the content that I've made and produced over the years. I cannot stress how overwhelmed and how humbling this opportunity has been for me, and I ultimately owe it to all of you guys, my loving, my supportive community, the greater RWBY fandom, and the Rooster Teeth family at large. So a few weeks ago, I was contacted by a staff member from Viz who extended an offer for me to partner with them on the upcoming RWBY manga anthologies that they're creating. And to just hear that, I was ecstatic and hysterical with excitement, not just for the opportunity to be able to work with Viz and bring you guys, new RWBY news, content, and information, but because Viz as a company has been a seminal part of my childhood and my upbringings, especially for my love of anime and manga. For those of you who don't know, Viz is a major anime and manga distributor and entertainment company here in the United States. And as you can tell, they are a big reason why I ended up getting into a lot of anime and manga during my teenage years. As I grew up into middle school, into high school, Naruto was actually the first manga that I had ever read in my entire life, and that is ultimately a product of Viz being a production company, a distribution company as well. And this was an incredible opportunity and experience, and I felt like this was like my life coming around full circle in that aspect of this company that has been a huge part of my life turning around, and then me being in this opportunity where they're like, hey, we love what you do and we want to partner with you and we want you to share it with your community. So I am incredibly, again, humbled to be in this opportunity, to be in this position, and again, it's from the love and support of my community. And Viz, if you are watching, thank you guys so much. And at the end of the day, I hope this video makes you guys proud. So as I mentioned, Viz reached out to me and offered me an opportunity to partner with them by sending me an early debut copy of their upcoming RWBY official manga anthology, and this is going to be the first release in the debut series, which is the Volume 1 Red Like Roses installment. And all of this for the intentions of sharing my impressions, giving all of you guys a sneak peek at what this anthology offers to fans of the series, expressing where it takes place canonically within the universe, and more importantly, how it flushes out the characters and how it compares to the source material of RWBY proper. And if any of that information piques your curiosity, then you are in luck. The Red Like Roses manga anthology is available for purchase right now for $12.99 across a variety of retailers. I will leave links in the description for all places where you'll be able to pick it up for yourselves, and it is a very, very good read. In addition to the Red Like Roses volume, the manga anthologies for Mirror Mirror, From Shadows, and I Burn will also be available for pre-order down the line and are slated to release throughout 2018 into early 2019. So if you end up enjoying this one, or if you plan on picking up the entire set as they release, be sure to check out Viz Media's website periodically for updates and information. And for Red Like Roses, I'm going to be breaking this video down into 3 categories, focusing on characters, plot, and art style, with my overall impressions for each one. This format is mainly because I feel like I almost have too much to say about this anthology, and I don't want to be going off the beaten path and rambling too much, because that is what I'm sort of known for around here. And overall, I hope you guys just enjoy the video. Be sure to leave your thoughts, your feedback on the video, or anything that I mentioned in the comment section, and without further ado, let us jump into it. So this manga anthology is titled Red Like Roses and predominantly focuses on Ruby Rose during her time spent at Beacon Academy. Getting into the plot, all of the events within the Red Like Roses anthology take place prior to the events of RWBY Volume 3 within the show proper. As some of you may recall, RWBY Volume 1 and Volume 2 encompasses an entire school year within the show, as the Vital Festival tournament of Volume 3 takes place at the end of the school year.
Look guys, it's been a good 2 weeks, and between more exchange students arriving and the tournament at the end of the year, our second semester is going to be great, but classes start back up tomorrow.
Within the 184 pages, we're given a more grounded side of day-to-day activities, moments, and struggles that RWBY faces as she develops with her team and classmates. I'll be expressing how the anthology fleshes out and deepens Ruby Rose as a character a little bit later, but as for the chapters themselves, a majority of them serve the purpose of either fleshing out character interaction, expanding context within the show proper, or simply being a one-off moment for the sake of happy fun times. And after finishing the manga, I found that a significant portion of events and moments taking place could actually be inserted and actually fit within the storylines of the show proper. The manga does a great job in filling in those gaps between volumes 1 and 2 where we're ultimately left to wonder and speculate what did happen. So in that regard, it's incredibly gratifying, especially if you've been a long-time watcher of the show. And that ultimately goes for what characters do in their spare time, as well as flushing out scenes from the show that were never fully expressed or explained. Ever wonder how Ruby and Weiss encountered that Nevermore back in volume 1 and the events that led up to that moment? Now you'll find out. Ever wonder what Team RWBY does in their spare time outside of what's expressed within the actual show? You'll find that out too. And in my personal opinion, something that's incredibly crucial to Ruby's development, have you ever wanted to hear Ruby Rose talk about her mother, Summer Rose? Well, guess what? You can do that. And there are so many other moments like that expressed throughout the entirety of this anthology. Now, what I will say right off the bat is if you are looking for high-impact action sequences and battles and fights similar to the likes of Shiro Miwa's manga or the show proper, you are not going to find that in this anthology. Maybe some anthologies down the line like From Shadows or I Burn will be more combat-oriented, but you will find little, if not any, action sequences in this anthology in particular. And you know what? I think that is completely fine. What you find in this anthology, what is given in this anthology, is something that is a very grounded concept that I think fans of the show even haven't gotten enough of in a really long time. And that is ultimately the simple things. The small moments that go a long way are ultimately what shine and are the center of attention throughout this entire read. For the first time, we actually get to see what Ruby deals with and what she overcomes on a regular basis, how she interacts with her friends, and even get to see what goes through her mind in a way that's never really been expressed in the show before. And I can't tell you guys how many times like I would just stop and I would just think to myself like, oh my god, like this is incredibly gratifying. This is so delightful to kind of see Ruby in a different perspective almost, and almost kind of compare it to the show proper and the two different adaptations of seeing how Ruby is in the show and seeing how they were able to adapt and even flush out her character a lot more in the manga. But we'll get to that part in a little bit. Moving onward, I want to talk a little bit about the art style, and this may come as a pleasant surprise for some of you guys out there, especially if you're fans of particular RWBY fan artists out there in the community. So this anthology actually has 20 chapters, 184 pages, but with an interesting spin in terms of the art direction. Each of the manga anthologies, Red Like Roses, Mirror Mirror, From Shadows, and I Burn, are a collaborative effort by new and established artists within the RWBY community, and as a result, you get a breath of fresh air, you get a wide range of flavor and styles across the board for every page, for every chapter that you're reading. Each individual chapter is illustrated by a different illustrator or manga artist, and if you are an avid fan of RWBY fan art out there like myself, it will not take you long to figure out who particularly worked on what chapter. You'll be able to find out directly from the table of contents for each of the chapters individually and figure out what artist worked on it. But again, if you are a fan of artists out there who are very established in the RWBY community, probably on Reddit or Twitter in particular, or DeviantArt, it will be very exciting to see the response and kind of overall the stylization of the chapters as you're reading, and you might actually pick out some of them yourselves. You'll be like, hey, I noticed that artwork, and then boom, it'll click in your head, which is what I went through for my experience of reading this, which was pretty awesome. Overall, I would say the team of illustrators and manga artists, they just bring a visual breath of fresh air with every chapter that you read. And like I said, it's actually even more rewarding if you're able to identify their art style, you know, from their contributions in the community through fan art and their manga illustrations. I just think that it's a really cool way of giving back to the community in a grander purpose and a grander way. Now, the one thing that I will say against this is that it may come off as a little jarring for the traditional manga reader, mainly because the art styles are inconsistent. Every chapter there's a different art style, so therefore as a visual panel reading experience, it might be like, oh my gosh, this RWBY looks a lot different than the one that I just saw a chapter ago. And then you flip the page and then it's a completely different style. But I personally think in this particular case, it is a special work to RWBY and the creators of the show, and I couldn't picture a better way of it being put together, honestly. It's just kind of how the Rooster Teeth community, how the RWBY fandom are of coming together, making something special, and kind of distributing it out there for everyone else to be a part of. So even though it might be a little jarring for some people who are traditional manga readers, I still think in the grand scheme of things, as a special case, it is something that's really cool to kind of just see how different people add flavor and add their own layer of depth and their own style to the show and how it's changed their lives and whatnot. And the final layer of discussion are in fact the wide range of characters that appear throughout the entirety of this anthology, particularly Ruby Rose, as it is predominantly from her perspective. And because it is primarily from Ruby's perspective, I was actually really surprised to see how many familiar faces we got throughout this manga, especially how well their adaptive personalities meld into picture versions of storytelling rather than from the show's perspective. Now, excluding Weiss, Blake, and Yang, as they do play a role in the overall development for Ruby Rose, we get to see a lot of members and features regarding characters from Team Juniper, Team Coffee, as well as Team Cardinal throughout the entirety of the anthology. We also get a lot of features and sneak peeks at our favorite professors, teachers, and your particular headmaster of Beacon Academy. And as an exciting reminder, because this manga anthology takes place prior to RWBY Volume 3 within the show proper, characters like Pyranikos, Penny Polendina, and Roman Tortrick are featured here and there, which is really, really great to see. And I know that's oddly direct to mention, but let's be real, if you are up to date on the current status of the RWBY series, then you of all people should definitely know that that is something to be excited about. And now we get into the nitty-gritty. Let us talk about the character in question, Ruby Rose. As a fan of this series since the Red official trailer that launched back in 2013, I cannot express how incredibly gratifying it is to see a different side, a different personality of Ruby while I was reading this manga. Now, for the sake of this video, I obviously can't give away too much, but what I can tell you guys, truthfully and honestly, is that every panel, every moment, every interaction, and every experience that you see in this manga only works towards fleshing out Ruby's characterization in ways that I swear have never been experienced or expressed in the show proper. And with RWBY Volume 6 coming out later this year, I think the #1 aspect that this anthology nails, its #1 strength, because it focuses on visual panels, I think it capitalizes on the philosophy of show, don't tell. And trust me when I say we see a lot from RWBY, a lot of different things that we've never seen before. It's completely crazy too, because it's like we're seeing, almost like we're seeing a different character that we don't see from the show proper. RWBY expresses, the #1 thing that I find the most satisfying is that she expresses every single range of emotion possible. She laughs, she cries, she gets angry, like pissed off angry, she worries, she hopes, she dreams, she shares her goals, her aspirations, her ambitions, she fails and she learns, and she talks about her mother. And what I can say as a fellow fan of this series is that I cannot wait for the day where RWBY's development becomes full focus within the show. As the main character of this show, it's no doubt that RWBY hasn't been getting the most overall development as the show has progressed over the years, with Volume 6, like I said, coming out later this year. But I feel like it's really great that we as fans have been able to get something that we've been desperately looking for, desperately been searching for, and it's a really great way of trying to, again, fill in those gaps and see who the overall character is, both from the show's perspective and the anthology's perspective. And I promise you guys, this will give you guys a new layer, a new way of looking at the character that we might have been missing out even in the show, which is great that they're even able to do stuff like this, adapt a character and kind of give us a more fleshed out approach to who they truly are. And this anthology is nothing short of satisfying if you've been craving new development and expressive growth from Ruby Rose. And a little extra note for you guys, particularly for any Weiss, Schnee, or White Rose shippers, you are absolutely going to love this manga. It might be called Red Like Roses, but as we all know, RWBY and Weiss were teamed up together in Volume 1. They're partners for the next 4 years at their stay at Beacon Academy, and for as much as this is focusing on RWBY's development and RWBY as a character, Weiss steals the show on more than one occasion, and I even want to say that there are some aspects in here that go towards the dynamic between RWBY and Weiss exclusively. That could be considered for, you know, people who are fans of the White Rose ship. That could be considered for them too as legitimate teammates, you know, being a pair, you know, to half of their team. And ultimately, we get to see a lot of characterization between these two, and it really fleshes out how they've become so close over the years. You know, especially again, since we don't really get to see a lot of those simple, finite moments of what brings these characters together and what have made them become friends over the short time that we've had with them in the show. And one of my personal favorite moments is that Team Sun is actually featured, which is really cool to see them because we haven't really gotten much if anything out of them so far in the show aside from Sun and Neptune, but we see Sun, Neptune, Sage, and Scarlet, and one of the biggest reveals that was featured in the manga is something that blew my mind. So I really hope you guys enjoy it. It is without a doubt one of my favorite parts of the manga that I've read so far, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are going to enjoy it as well. But overall, in closing, I had a blast reading through the Red Like Roses anthology. I feel like it's an incredibly needed piece in the puzzle, not only for filling in the gaps of the past, but for also giving fans of the series something that we've been desperately waiting for. I personally have no doubts in my mind that RWBY will develop into an incredible protagonist as the series continues, but there is no doubt, of course, that this manga anthology managed to hit on a lot of those points first. And to some, that could be considered a pro or a con, depending on how you look at it. But in the grand scheme of things, I feel like the Red Like Roses anthology will be something that RWBY fans will not only enjoy and appreciate, but that also hit on a lot of the canonical events that take place within the show. It expresses Ruby Rose in a way that we've never experienced, and it ultimately reconnects us with these characters, this world, this universe, and its concepts that we've only grown to love over the last 5 years. And I feel like, again, this is an experience, this is something that I feel RWBY fans will appreciate, will enjoy, and it's, again, more content for us to get into, to wrap our minds around, and to be invested and enthralled in these characters in this world. So I personally think you guys will really like it. And as I said, it was a delight to read. I'm looking forward to the other manga anthologies, and again, I hope you guys take the time to check it out for yourselves. But if you're planning on picking up this manga for yourselves, or you already have it, let me know your thoughts on the manga, the video in general, any thoughts or comparisons you had compared to what I thought about the manga. I'd love to have a conversation and share ideas with you guys in the comment section. And again, I would also like to say once again, thank you very much to Viz for allowing me to be a part of this experience of sharing my thoughts, sharing my love and my passion for the RWBY series with other people, and for giving you guys something to look forward to in the coming days of this manga anthology release. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for your overall support. I hope you guys enjoy this anthology. Again, leave any thoughts, feedback, comments that you guys have on this video in the comment section. And until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.